also, what do you consider photography to be? Some people think of it as a craft or an art or a passion or just a trade. Well, how would you characterize it?
Ooh, I'm probably, although I try to avoid it, but I'm a little bit at the trade and business side of it. I'm satisfying someone's need, or I'm giving pleasure to someone, you know, who reads a magazine and sees something visually, and it's because it's my world and it's my head and I'm thinking work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it is art. It is creativity. It's all of that, and it's one of the arts. I don't think photography is treated as like the top part of the art world. It's down the bottom there.
You think it should be, or that's
well,
how
it should
is?
be. I think things like paparazzi drag it down a few things, and there are certain elements of photography that drag it right back down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the wedding guys didn't have a good reputation for a long time, years and years. I'm talking quite a while ago, but now they've lifted the game up, and so we've gone up a few steps.
That's actually an interesting one. What do you think? I mean, I've got my own personal little project where I shoot strangers with their permission because I found it confronting that no one trusts us anymore.
Sure.
So how do you find that shooting in public? If you turn your camera from the sportsman to the crowd, do you get people wondering what's up, or you got a press pass and a giant lens?
No,
sort of trust
they seem to be okay, but in the sporting arena, they know that they're private game, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Not private game's not the right word, but they're okay with it. They'll pull their faces, and they're sporting fans. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I've got to be careful with swimming and surf lifesaving, and they're children there, and they're not wearing a lot of clothes, etc. I can understand someone's apprehension in some way or form, and as a parent myself, I would do exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, you know what's funny? And I read this the other day that the iPhone, people will gladly pose for you for an iPhone picture because they don't find that non-lensing imposing or whatever, and so you can get away with murder on one of those things now.
That's why all the street guys use Leicas, right?
Correct. It's not as imposing once the lens gets there.
Now, speaking of imposing, what sort of array of lenses would you take to, like, when you go over to London for the Olympics?
Okay.
How much excess baggage are you
Way
carrying?
too much. Thankfully, I fly a lot with our national airline. I'm not plugging because I don't like them. But
if they're still in business.
They're still in there. I'm flying them. They do give me a big kilo allowance. But I did fly another airline the other day, and I had, 38 kilos.
Just gear, yep.
Just gear. So after I paid the excess fees, etc. But it's 38 kilos. I'm starting from wide angle all the way to my 600mm f4 lens.
Mm-hmm. So what's in there when you say wide angle?
Okay, my new favourite lens is the 14 to 24. Originally I would have had a fisheye, but that comes with me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never thought I'd use my fisheye again, but the other night I had to shoot a stadium with a full crowd, and the fisheye did get that whole thing in.
Was it the 8mm or something like that? Or
yeah. So it came up beautifully but it didn't on the 14 to 24.
Mm-hmm.
That's my new favourite lens. I do have a 50 prime lens. I have the 84 1.8. 1.8?
85 1.8, yep.
85 1.8.
Okay, yep.
There's more to play with. Then I've got my 70 to 200. Sorry, I've got a 35 to 70. Is it 35 to 70? No, it's a 28 to 70.
24 to 70?
24 to 70.
Is it that one?
Yes, it's that one.
That's my favourite.
How bad am I? Well, it shows you're not technical.
An ambassador.
I know. It's the 24 to 70, I use that one a lot because I'm on the back of a motorbike for triathlons.
Okay.
24 gets the cyclist with a full bike, and 70 I'm getting a little bit tighter on his handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then the 70 to 200, then my 300 2.8, which before the 14 to 24 was my favourite all-time lens, and then my 600.
Okay, so you don't, the 2 to 400 zoom, you don't use the...
No, I played with it a lot, and I borrow it quite often at Nikon, but I don't have one. No, you can only have so much gear or so much weight to carry,
Sure.
and that one is it's a stunning lens, but it's a little bit heavy. It's a heavy lens.
So a 600 f4,
Yeah.
and then the d4. Is there any situation where you're wanting for light or wanting for reach? Do you ever need to use teleconverters?
Yeah, well, I do whack on the 1.4, and I do a lot in cricket,
Mm-hmm.
and the 600. I told you before, I don't want to crop, so I do go with a 1.4 and 600. A lot of the pressures are 400 because they do want a little bit of space for them to crop. I don't. The Surf Ironman in the beach, sometimes the break is a little bit further out than I'd like, and the 1.4 comes on. I've got it 2 times, but I've rarely had to go to that. Maybe a little bit of loss in quality as well.
Yeah.
But the 1.4 is enough for me. And, as with that, obviously, there's everything else with batteries and chargers and cards and God knows what else. So, laptops.
So what about that? I mean, you're using a 600 and the action moves from the far corner to the close corner. So you're shooting with a couple of bodies at least.
Correct. Yeah, I've got
2, 3.
2. I've got 2. Okay. 2, and even me to go to a second camera was a big deal for me because I've been under that principle of trying to keep it simple. So 2 cameras was probably it was in my headspace. It was too hard, but I've had to go. If I know the sport and I will have that, something will happen that could be there or here. Then I'll have it with me. If I don't have it, if I don't need it, I won't have it.
Would something like a soccer match or a football match be that sort of situation?
Yeah. But the 200 to 400 is beautiful. That's when I've used it the most. That 200 to 400 it's a good lens.
Okay.
Beautiful.
You were saying that the soccer players running away. That's when you change positions.
Yeah, that was with that 400 by the way.
Okay.
By game 3, that Australians had played the 3 games. I did get to the event early. I was looking at light, etc. And then I went, no, where are the fans sitting? And because the Australian fans always bought tickets in blocks, they were always in a spot. And then all the Australians looked at where the Australians were all starting to mingle, and we picked the spots accordingly. In this instance, he kicks the penalty goal. He ran straight at the crowd and bang. You know, after the disappointment of game 1, game 3, I finally got a nice picture, and I ended up with 2 of the superstars as well, which was Tim and Harry.
And there's a lurking pair of eyes right behind the post there.
I'm not going to give my Nikon ambassador Jason Boland any credit, so I've covered it.
We'll let him plug himself.
Yeah, let him plug it. A little fun thing that he sent me from Matt Damon and had it signed. So.
No, well, just your opinion, so I'm not looking for any.
Okay.
Oh, there goes your poster. See that?
That would have been nice in that.
He really wants to be in the shot.
He wants to be in the shot, you rat.
Jason's haunting you. Oh, no, you are. I didn't notice you in the corner before.
Yeah, that was a camera house promotion.
Oh, right.
They could have a day with me, which they valued at 5,000. I don't know where they got that picture. Or the camera, and they took the camera, thankfully. It's very hard for me to take someone into a sporting event because of accreditation and that.
So I was going to say, did you take them to an event, or you took them to Luna Park?
No, they took what was it, the D90 with the lens.
Oh, that's way less than $5,000.
I know, so I don't know how they valued it at $5,000. But it was supposed to be a full day with me, return flights and transfers, 1 night accommodation. So somehow that came to $5,000.
Really expensive hotel.
It must have been. What? On the word?
So how did that actually come, from being, having your teeth straightened and shooting in the schoolyard to being a Nikon ambassador for, I have all shooters on my channel, but there's a lot of Nikon enthusiasts, and that's kind of being held up as a god.
Yeah, it was a big turning point for me, and for all those years, and I thought I'm just slogging away and taking pictures and they get published and everything else, and that's wonderful, and it's always heartwarming, and I have the best job in the world. When they came up to me and said, we'd like you to be an ambassador, and it wasn't for anything, there were a few criteria that they'd worked on. And I've noted that with all our ambassadors, that it's personality, it's the work ethic, it's a role model situation, it's the loyalty to the brand, the whole thing. So for me, as well as the pride of all of that, it actually said to me that people had taken notice of what I'd done in all my years.
Great.
And that was a lovely reward.
When did that happen?
We're talking now 2009.
Okay.
It was in 2009.
Great.
The year before that, I was inducted into the World Photography Academy.
And how does that happen?
Again, the same thing. It was a peer recognition thing, and I'm still the only Australian on that list. There are a couple of sports photographers from around the world, and 2 of them are my idols as I grew up, and when I grow up, I want to be this person.
Yeah, who were they?
Oh, well, Neil Life is the number one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well, there's the picture there that he took of Muhammad Ali looking down on Sonny Liston. So, you know, and as I said, I'm still the only Australian. Now, I don't know who put my name forward to it, but we're part of an academy, and it's meant to be like the Academy Awards for film. It's meant to recognise people, and
Yep.
the Sony World Photography Awards, the quality of the pictures that are in there. It was a thing by Sony. They brought it up because they were just coming into the market at the time.
Okay.
And they chased me as an ambassador, but you know, Nikon had got in there first. So well, I had no allegiance to Sony. If I'd used Sony, it was a video camera to photograph or film the kids.
Yeah, right.
No, Nikon were there, and then Sony came hard. But Nikon showed faith in me, and I showed the same faith back.
Yeah.
Had to.
So you said best job in the world, but what's the most challenging part? Because you know, people at home see sports photographer going to the Olympics, Nikon ambassador. They probably don't see you spending the day doing accounts.
People say, "What do I do Monday to Friday?" And it's accounts, or it's getting pictures to people. And you run your own business, so you are the accountant, you are the janitor, you are the marketing manager. You know, you're doing all those things, and being creative, and a lot of creatives are that way. All that work, all that part of it gets neglected, and it's. I try to use my slow times to do some marketing, and that's trying to be creative in some way or form. What are the downsides of my job? It's that, you know, it's you would love to spend 24 hours a day, 7 days a week shooting pictures, but you've got to be, and that's a hint for anyone, that you've got to be 50% businessman and 50% photographer. You can be the world's best creator, but if you can't get on with clients, what's the point? You'll end up or chase payments, or even paying your bills. You'll fall over quickly.
Yeah, right.
You've got to learn that part of it. The pictures, if you're bringing out beautiful product, yes, they'll sell themselves. But if there's another person that's doing the same work, they'll go to the person they can get on with. You know, they'll do business with people they like.
Yeah.
So being on top of that all the way through is you've got to keep changing your mindset.
Actually, I think this is something that would resonate with you. I heard someone say the art form of the 2000s is marketing. So it's not enough to have a great product; it's getting away with it, basically.
And look, we're not talking big agencies here, because we're all one-man bands kind of thing, and you're the brand now. You know, you've got to go out there and show people this brand is worth going for. We trust this brand, whether it's a little logo or whatever it is, or Delhi Carr. Does that word as a brand name sound trustworthy, or is it sounds like he's a crook, whatever it is? So marketing / you are a brand, go out there and make that brand. There are certain things that you think of when you think of Mac. You think of innovation, that's what the word means nowadays. So when they say Delhi Carr, you want an image to come up in their head. I'm very lucky now, with all my years, people know me. If they say Delhi Carr, it's the experienced guy that'll get the job done, because he knows he's been around forever. But there could be the young whippersnapper that has a different image, and
ambition.
Whatever it is, but whatever he's known for, he pushes it and markets it, or he or she goes out and pushes that part of it. That, you know, that's what you do. And my marketing has turned into, I'm the old guy that knows what he's done all these years, and hopefully he doesn't screw up on the event.
So speaking of being the old weathered man of the industry who hopefully doesn't screw up, have you had any nightmare moments?
I finally did it. I finally did it on Friday, so 4 days ago.
Oh, it's fresh.
I had 20 minutes with Matthew Mitchum, the Olympic diver, and he was graceful enough to give me the 20 minutes. And I got there early, I got everything prepared, put my camera in the housing. The nerves, he was late, and the nerves.
So you were underwater, were you?
I was going to do underwater with the dive, and my nerves, and I've missed one bolt or one screw on the housing. And in I go for the first dive, and the whole housing fills up with water, and my D3S goes to heaven. Well, I went to the bottom of the pool first, and then it's gone to heaven.
Oh, goodness.
And that's my first big screw up. really, like, I've destroyed a camera pretty quickly.
Well, I mean, at some point, everyone does that. It's not normally, normally happens earlier to most of us.
Well, I've had them, but that one's now going to end up, when I get my camera back from Nikon, they're not going to save it. Sadly, it's in the ICU at the moment, but I don't think they're going to revive it.
Yeah.
So it'll end up being on that mantelpiece as a trophy of what I screwed up. I did have one. Another one was I went to an event, and this is the film days where I forgot to load the film in. And an hour into the event, I went, geez, that's a long roll of film, and I realised I hadn't put a roll of film in.
So do you now on digital enable the feature where it won't let you take a frame without a card?
Yeah.
So why, can I ask, was that? I mean, that'll be interesting for the viewers that so experienced.
Yeah.
You still get nerves?
If you don't get nerves, then forget it. I always get nerves. When I go to London, I'll be terrified. Before. And a lot of it has to do with the responsibility that you've given. It's that you don't want to miss some moments, etc., etc. But yeah, in this case, I had a world-class athlete that, I love my sport, so I idolise a lot of these people as well. So the nerves were there because I was meeting a world-class gold medalist. I missed the screw. I don't know how. I just did one screw and that let in all the water. And he noticed it. He went, your camera's filling up, and then it was all up, and all of a sudden everything just shut down. Bang, I knew straight away. I had to shoot the next day. Nikon loaned me a camera, and again how terrified I was that it would happen again.
How many times did you check the screws?
Way too many times. Way too many. But again, I got there early. He was late. My nerves now have been compounded by the fact that I just drowned a camera. A $6,000, $7,000 camera. I just drowned it. It happens. I've seen other guys drop cameras off cliffs and a few other things. So, and we've all done it. We've all dropped lenses. We've smashed them. We've done all those things.
They rest in peace.
Yeah, they do. They end up, as I said, they're on the mantelpiece.
So, what do you think about? I mean, obviously that's some bad luck or whatever you want to call it. Even with all the planning, all your experience, how do you see the element of luck coming into, getting that great iconic shot? If he hadn't been there where Sonny Liston was going to get knocked on his backside, someone else would have got that shot. How is that for you?
Well, you do make your own luck, don't get me wrong, but the luck does come into it a lot of times. You just try and, you've got to try and put yourself in a position where you make your own luck. It's quite simple as that. You need to think ahead to make your own luck, I think. Luck is 80% preparation. It sounds silly. Yes, there will be 100% pure sheer luck. Don't get me wrong. With the clients and with the sports that I've shot them for a long time, 10, 15 years. Triathlon I've shot for 20. I got to the point where I know what's going to happen. Well, I can think ahead. And I know some of the athletes that well that I know that they're going to go this way or that way, or how they're going to behave. So I can pick, again, it's all forethought, it's all a bit of it's all preparation. But if there's 100% luck shot coming your way, you better be ready for it. And that doesn't always happen. There's a lot of, for every one I've got a nice picture, I've missed 10. And that's the truth. That's how it is.
Better tracking, maybe you'll get that.
Better tracking, or even the wrong lens choice, or you've dozed off for a little minute, just to clear your head, and it happens. That was the ball where the guy gets bowled out. Bang, but you shouldn't have gone to get the pie or whatever it was because you were hungry. That's an interesting thing with the Olympics. It's such long hours, and to take in food or something, you go, do I go now or do I miss something?
I actually was wondering that. So the Olympics, as a punter, thinking, okay, I can go and watch the 100-meter now, or the hockey, or the. Does your client, whoever's sending you, give you prioritised list, or how the hell do you manage your time?
In this instance, I work for some sports federations, so you've got to be here at this time. You don't have a choice.
Okay.
Like swimming, who are one of my big clients, I'll be shooting 8 nights of finals. Right, so I'll be there from an hour or two before they start to an hour or two afterwards. It's a long night, but it's swimming. And that's my deal. So I've got my world according to my clients. Then if I've got another spot, I look for what I can do. 9 times out of 10 at a games or something like that, I've gone to sports where I don't have that opportunity to shoot here, back home. So there are things like wrestling that you don't, or fencing, which is a beautiful sport to photograph. I go to, I've not gone to 100-metre finals with Usain Bolt, but I've gone to one event that I wanted to shoot. But I haven't had the opportunity. It's not played here, etc. Or it's such a beautiful sport to photograph. One of my personal projects 2 years ago was the Winter Olympics in Vancouver. Didn't have a client. The Australian Olympic Committee were kind enough to give me a pass because of my reputation. And I shot 2 weeks of sports that, as we have no snow in this country, to shoot sports I've never seen before. How fast the luge went, or how high the high jump was, and things that were totally new to me. Had a ball because of that. I didn't get the greatest of pictures because I was so new to every sport there.
Yeah, right.
But I can, hopefully, if I do go to the next one, I now have that luxury of a little bit of experience in snow sports.
So you wouldn't even have pitched for jobs at the Winter?
No, well, this country sadly doesn't. We don't win medals, and they don't really care too much.
We won one or two.
We've now started to win one or two, but well, an iconic shot when that skater won, when all the others fell, like in our whole world. Now, not one Australian picked that one because not one Australian was there for it.
Picking a couple of your different main sports, if you had to go into it just using one body, one lens, or the absolute bare essentials, what are you going to pack? You've got a 10-kilo limit.
Yeah, okay. The one lens I've used from day one would be my 300 2.8, and that's I think because the 70 to 200 or the 80 to 200, whatever lens it was then, was so accessible. The 300 2.8 differentiated your picture from everyone else. And I would now take my D4 in when I get that one, or the D3S. And the old days of film with the D5 and they were stunning cameras as well for film. So my film days, it would have been my D5 and my 300 2.8. Nowadays, yeah, my D3S and my 300.
So is that the same 300 2.8 you've had throughout?
No, I've not destroyed. I've outworn them, or they've run out, and the parts they don't get now. So I've actually got two 300 2.8s, which can be used manually.
Okay.
But not autofocus.
Paperweights.
Yeah, they're in the museum.
Okay. And so for triathlon, you said you use the 24 to 70 a lot.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the back of a motorbike, so I reasonably close, and I do work for some bike sponsors, so they want to see the whole bike with the wheels while the guy's cycling, and magazines tend to use a little bit tighter when they're down on their bike. Then I don't normally chase them on their run section with them on a motorbike, so I'm off on the road somewhere, and that's when I'm shooting with a longer lens.
How do you strap onto the back of a bike?
Well, 9 times out of 10 they do give me a bike that's got a backrest, so I'm not actually standing on the bike, I'm not facing backwards either. We pull up alongside the bike, we have a 15-second limit according to the sport and the technical officials, so I've got to be ready with my flash, everything's got to be charged, ready to go, bang, 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 I know what I'm doing, move on to the next one. Technical officials seem to know me a bit better now, so that if I get an extra
16 seconds is...
Yeah, they'll give me a few more, and if I buy them a beer after the race, then I get a little bit longer.
Yeah, right. So is that... How many different sports can you use flash on?
That's pretty much it nowadays. And I only use the flash because with bikes and caps, they've
got to get under.
I get under and I bounce in a bit of light. And you realise when you do get a nice burst compared to a frame without a burst of light that there is a difference.
Yeah, sure.
You wouldn't think so, but there is.
So you're using the 900 or the 910 now?
Yes. Yeah. So and again, I only have the 15 seconds, so they've got to be ready, pump, shoot all the frames I want without missing a beat.
So external battery pack and all that jazz?
Yeah, it's all ready to go. So I don't have much time. In theory, I can pull out, come back in, but I've got a few athletes to shoot, so no time.